for joining us in our coverage of the 2015 Wnada DC Auto Show. This year's show, as always, was a great combination of exciting new technologies, the latest models that are coming to a dealer near you, and some exciting fun and games for the whole family. Showgoers could try their hand at rock climbing at Camp Jeep or a driving simulator of an F1 race car in Indianapolis. I spent my time admiring the huge array of great cars, learning more about electric vehicles from Nissan and Chevrolet, as well as the revolutionary hydrogen fuel cell technology being pioneered by Toyota. We also had a chance to see the historical vehicles displayed by the Historic Vehicle Association, which featured the cool GM Futureliner bus, as well as a pair of Corvette-like concepts that were developed by Buick and Cadillac, who didn't want to be overshadowed by their sister company, Chevrolet. So join us as we discover all the great sights and sounds of the 2015 DC Auto Show. As we all know, fuel prices are going to be a concern for all Americans going into the future. In order to address future fuel scarcities, the Department of Transportation has implemented the CAFE fuel economy standards for all automakers who sell in the United States. At the Auto Show, we took a look at 3 light trucks that are being produced by Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors, and how they developed their strategies to meet or exceed the CAFE standards going into the future. Ford chose a risky path, lowering weight by using aluminum and turbocharging their 6-cylinder gasoline engines, while Chrysler used a more traditional approach, steel panels on their full-size Ram 1500 with a VM 3-liter diesel engine to get excellent fuel economy, while GM introduced a pair of new mid-size pickups which will feature diesel technology in a 4-cylinder which will have outstanding fuel economy. Here's our look at the 3 trucks that represent the differing approaches the manufacturers are taking. Ford's strategy is to go with lighter weight vehicles and smaller engines. This engine is a 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6. It has twin turbos and it produces an incredible 325 horsepower and 375 foot-pounds of torque. It is very comparable to the V8s that are produced by Chrysler, Toyota, and GM. As you can see, it is much smaller than your traditional big truck engine. But with the kind of horsepower that it puts out, it is something that a lot of buyers are going to be looking at because it can produce up to 26 miles to the gallon on the highway in the 2-wheel drive format. So, you know, with the CAFE standards being what they are, it is important for buyers of these trucks, fleet buyers especially, to look at how they're going to be able to get their fuel mileage CAFE up to as high as possible. So, once again, their strategy is a lighter engine, lighter vehicle. Now, Ford has been using aluminum much more than their competitors. So all of the body is made with an aluminum alloy. The frame, of course, is still steel. It has to be. It's a heavy-duty truck. Now, this results in a much lighter vehicle than its competitors, which, of course, helps contribute to the fuel economy that it comes out with. Now, it still has the same capabilities as its competitors. In some ways, it has greater capabilities. So it is a very, very agile, able truck, even though it is lighter weight and has a smaller engine. Now, obviously, fleet buyers are once again going to have to make a decision on this because aluminum is much more expensive to repair. Ford has made a major investment in the aluminum, and they also have made major advances in aluminum welding and other methods of repairing the vehicles. So they're going to try to mitigate those issues as much as possible. Once again, it's a balancing act. It's a different strategy that Ford has decided to take as opposed to what Chrysler's done with the eco-diesels and GM has done with the multi-displacement V8s. I talked earlier about the Ford F-150 and how Ford's strategy is to use lighter weight like aluminum and smaller engines like the 2.7 and 3.5 liter V6 EcoBoost motors. Chrysler's taken a slightly different tack. What they've done with the Ram is introduce the VM 3.0-liter diesel motor. Now, this diesel motor has a 240 horsepower rating, which is a little bit less than what the Fords are producing, but the torque is identical to the 3.5 liter on the EcoBoost, which is 420 pounds of torque. Now, anyone who's driven a truck knows horsepower really doesn't matter. It's torque, because torque is what gives you the power to do all the heavy lifting and the hauling that you do with the pickup truck. Now, as we talked about with the Ford, there are trade-offs with the diesel technology. Diesel fuel is traditionally a little bit more expensive than gasoline, and diesel engines tend to cost a little bit more from the start. However,
one of the things that is really cool about this vehicle is that it is rated by the EPA at an incredible 29 miles to the gallon, which is unheard of territory for a full-size pickup truck, and it still has all the capability that buyers have come to expect. As for more clever design features of the Ram is the Ram box. This is a side container that they built into the side of the rear of the vehicle, so you can put things in there, tools, things like that. It's lockable and it can be locked from the interior. In addition, I understand that the Ram box is waterproof, so if you were to maybe fill it up with some ice and some beverages for the softball game, it could work as a nice cooler. There's one Ram box on each side of the vehicle, so you have enough drinks for the entire team. Non-alcoholic, of course.
Cars have gone from being a far-off fantasy of the Jetsons to becoming a reality that you can see driving on the Beltway on your daily commute. Pioneered mostly by the efforts of Tesla Motors, electric cars are hitting the mainstream. At this year's show, we took a closer look at the best-selling electric car in the United States, the Nissan Leaf, and we looked at the upcoming 2016 Chevy Volt, which has received an exciting new styling update. Finally, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are coming to a road near you. We take a closer look at Toyota's revolutionary Mirai hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, which could serve as an emergency emissions-free backup generator for your home.
The best-selling electric car in the North American market is the Nissan Leaf. I have Jimmy Rodriguez here from Nissan, who's going to tell us some of the details about this cool little car. So Jimmy, tell me a little bit about the Nissan Leaf.
Well, kind of what you're alluding to, we were the world's first mass-produced electric vehicle on the market. Over about 20 years of production in creating the Nissan Leaf.
Wow, 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Well, when was the first production model of the Leaf released?
Actually, it was in December 2010 as an 11 model.
And was that here in the United States or was it in Japan?
It was actually in the U.S.
Oh, really? Okay. Now, of course, we've looked at a variety of electric cars. We looked at the Chevy Volt, we looked at the BMW i3. So this one, I guess, is a little bit more on the utilitarian, low-cost side of things, correct?
Correct. So the idea behind the Leaf is to offer consumers an option of driving a vehicle that's comfortable enough for 5 passengers. If you have any cargo you want to take around, it's easy to kind of use for anyone because of the hatchback kind of style.
Excellent. Okay, and what is the typical range that I would get out of this vehicle?
Good question. About 84 average is your mileage around town. So again, it's a commuter car for many consumers.
Now, tell me a little bit about some of the more interesting features. Like you were mentioning that you have an app where you can actually remotely see what your charge is on the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's an actual app you can download for your Android or Apple device, and you're actually able, when you're charging it, to monitor your current charge time. So let's say you're at the convention center, you're checking the car show, you have your car charging around town. You're actually to monitor what your charge status is. You could actually turn on and off the climate control. So if it's nice and cold, you could preheat the cabin, so it's nice and toasty when you get inside.
Okay.
And then you have some heated seats in the front, rear as well.
Or in these DC summers, have that AC going, so you're not
definitely helps out.
Sticking to the vinyl or leather or whatever.
Well, we got a little bit of everything for everyone, so we do have partially recycled fabric seats inside, as well as leather for those who want a little more luxury.
Oh, hey, who doesn't? Okay, now I've seen the advertising where you talk to owners of internal combustion engines about how much they expect to save on fuel just simply by buying a Nissan Leaf. I think that's an incredibly effective form of advertising because it really puts a number where people maybe not have even thought about it. Could you talk a little bit about that?
If you go to our website, nissanusa.com, pull up the Leaf tab, you're actually able to put in current gas prices, current electricity prices, and calculate how much you're able to save per month, per year, per use.
Gotcha. So this is a really good tool that someone could use to quantify what their savings would be by buying a Nissan Leaf. Fuel economy, MPG equivalent, is 114 miles to the gallon.
Correct. So that was just an easier way for consumers to understand how efficient the vehicle was.
Sure.
Because every vehicle does have different size battery capacities. So for the price of a gallon of gas, you get the equivalent of
114 miles.
Correct.
Gotcha. You can't put a gallon of gas in there, even if you tried.
Even if you tried.
Maybe if you put like a gallon in the back, in a jerry can.
You're trying to help somebody out who's stuck, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. It wouldn't do you much good, though, would you?
You don't need one.
That's right. All right, Chevy. Thanks again.
Pleasure.
And it's a pleasure meeting you. All right, we're here with Alex. She's a product specialist for Chevrolet. Hi, Alex.
Hey there.
And she's going to talk to us a little bit about the 2016 version of the Chevy Volt.
So this is our first time of the total makeover for the second generation.
Yes. And it is, in my opinion, it is a much more attractive vehicle.
Yes, I mean, when the electric cars came out, they really wanted to stand out, the mavens that they could say, see, I have an electric car. Now that we have electric cars all over the place, we just like to go back to the Chevy style of being sleek and sexy.
There you go. Yes, I can appreciate that. Now, what are some of the big differences with regards to the 2016 version or the second generation version of the Chevy Volt?
Well, we worked with the Volt owners and we asked them, since they're the happiest car owners on the planet already, what can we do for you to make the car more fun to drive? And they wanted more range, more power, so that's what we got them. It's basically a larger range electric, 50 now, and a larger range on the range extender. It is 370 miles on the range extender, so 420 with a full battery and a full gas tank.
Is it considered a hybrid vehicle or is it a gas extended range vehicle?
It is a gas extended range vehicle because, as you're saying, we do use both components, but it's always electric, giving you that 294 foot-pounds of torque at all times.
Gotcha. Okay, so you always have that torque, which is a large amount of torque, available to you so you can get scooting going pretty fast.
We love to say that there's a Corvette in every Chevrolet, so we don't want you just running off of a little four-cylinder engine. That would not give you that racing up the hill quality that's fun to drive.
Absolutely. Now, do you quantify it as horsepower? Is that a measure that would work with an electric vehicle?
Absolutely. We have 149 horses, but again, the torque is what you really feel, so your 0 to 30 is actually at 2.64.
Okay.
So that's what, since we're not racing with the car, we're measuring the 0 to 30 to get you into that highway lane safely.
Well, if you want to be racing stoplights, that's where you buy the Camaro or the Corvette for. This is more of a responsible vehicle, but it's still fun to drive and fast.
Especially that low-end torque, that getting the inertia going of the car, that you just get, up and going. And that's what you need in the city. If you see that parking space on the other side of the street,
absolutely, Alex. You must drive in D.C.
I live in L.A., so I got that problem as well, that I want low-end torque to get in
Probably
that parking
a little bit
space.
worse in here.
Yeah, sometimes, definitely.
Now, Alex, are there any big changes with regards to the interior?
Absolutely. We now finally have that fifth seat in the back. We only had
Yes.
4 seats since the battery runs through the middle.
Yeah, I had
So-
noticed that in the previous model that you had that real big hump like an old-fashioned rear-wheel drive
Absolutely.
car did.
Well, yeah, it's because of the weight distribution. Because we have the range extender in front, battery in back, we need battery in the middle to give you that weight, but that also makes it almost feel like an all-wheel drive car because the weight is distributed very nicely.
Okay.
Just, yeah, we could shave some off the battery. That's why you can now sit on that hump.
Yes.
It's still, you don't want to go cross country with 5 people, but you don't have to leave that 4th friend at home when you go to the movies now.
There you go. Now, is it a front-wheel drive vehicle?
It's still a front-wheel drive vehicle, yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you so much for
You're
your
so
time,
welcome.
Alex.
Thanks.
Incredible new Toyota Mirai, which is a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. This is a cool new technology that Toyota has been really pioneering. I understand that a couple other competitors coming out with similar technologies, but you guys, of course, as usual, are leading the way.
That's correct. So again, this is the Toyota Mirai. It is a zero-emission, hydrogen-powered fuel cell vehicle. It has a 300-mile range, and you refuel with hydrogen in only 5 minutes. So you don't put gasoline in this vehicle, and you don't ever plug it in. It's powered by hydrogen.
Now, tell me a little bit about the vehicle. How long did it take to develop it?
Sure. So Toyota's been working on this project since 1992, and we've logged 1.3 million driving miles. And it will be on the market starting in California in the fall.
Now, there is a little bit of controversy with regards to the hydrogen technology. I understand that Elon Musk has been saying that the hydrogen infrastructure is going to be very expensive to develop, but Toyota obviously feels that it is a worthwhile investment. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. We can never run out of it, and it produces zero emissions. And this is better than an electric car because it gives you a 5-minute refueling time as opposed to maybe a 5-hour recharging time.
Or
with
a
an
battery
electric
swap.
car. Or a battery swap. But that technology isn't really mainstream right now.
Understood. Wonderful. Well, it is absolutely a beautiful vehicle.
Thank you.
Now, last year I took a look at the FCV concept
Yes.
vehicle. Tell me, so what are the differences that made it to production as opposed to the concept? Are there any major differences?
I would say close to 90% of the original concept design was kept in the production model. And as you can see, inside is more of a Lexus quality interior. It's beautiful. It's heated first row seats, heated second row seats, heated steering wheel, JBL surround sound speakers, navigation. We'll have a hydrogen station navigation system as well. Advanced safety features like pre-collision system, blind spot monitor with rear cross traffic alert, backup camera, lane departure alert, and parking assist sonar. Oh, and also Qi wireless charging for your cell phone, which is very new, exciting technology.
I like that idea. I hate all the cords and, trying to,
Right.
yeah.
It's so convenient.
So you just drop your phone in and it charges as you
Charging.
drive.
Absolutely.
I understand that you could actually, in case of a power outage, you can light your home with this vehicle. Is that correct?
That's correct. It would be an option called power takeoff, and the vehicle generates so much electricity that if you have an emergency and a loss of power in your home, you would actually be able to plug the vehicle into your house, and the vehicle can generate enough electricity to power your home for up to a week.
Where can we find more information about this incredible vehicle?
To find more information about the Toyota Mirai, you can go to toyota.com/Mirai or toyota.com/fuel cell.
Power. Who doesn't want more of it? At this year's show, we got to drool over a pair of crazy new cars coming to you from Cadillac and Dodge. The supercharged V8 Cadillac CTS-V, which produces over 640 horsepower, and my favorite, the Dodge Charger Hellcat, which pumps an amazing 707 horsepower, good for a top speed of 204 miles per hour. Now, I know we're not going to be driving 200 miles an hour on the Beltway, but it is fun to have that kind of power at your right foot, isn't it? So let's take a look at these great new cars coming from Dodge and Cadillac.
So, Alexis, tell us a little bit about the CTS-V.
So we're incredibly proud of it. It is the most powerful vehicle in Cadillac's 112-year history. It is powered by that very same supercharged V8 6.2 liter, 640 horsepower, 630 foot-pound of torque, and the 0 to 60 times are 3.7 seconds.
That's pretty fast. I understand that this is the same engine that is in the Corvette. Is that true?
It is true. It has been tweaked a little bit for the Cadillac. So again, we have a customized Hellcat engine in here.
Dodge goes for, okay, horsepower. This, of course, is more of a velvet fist approach. So a little bit more luxurious, nicer styling, more of a, hey, you know, I'm a guy who has a really stylish but very powerful and fast car. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's designed to be a track car as well as a sedan for the family. So now you don't have to have your weekend car and your family car anymore. It truly, like, we have both interests here combined.
Okay.
So take it on the track once or twice a year, however
then
you
drive
see
it home.
fit. Drive it home, sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic in a luxurious and comfortable Cadillac. Have the kids play with a Q infotainment system on their iPhones and tablets.
Oh, yes.
With 4G
Wi-Fi.
LTE, correct?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're a hotspot now.
Oh, yeah, so it is a hotspot. And what is the top speed on the CTS-V?
200 miles per hour.
200 miles an hour. Think I could hit that on the Beltway?
Is it fast enough for you?
No, nothing's fast enough for me. Of course, we don't have the Autobahn here in the United States. She's from Germany, so she gets to enjoy the Autobahn. Do you ever drive on that?
A lot, yes. When I'm home, I love it.
Nice. This would be a good car for the Autobahn, wouldn't it?
I fully agree, and it's a sexy performer. So not only does it look good, but it delivers the power, it delivers the technology. Cadillac is now at the cutting edge of performance, safety, and entertainment technologies when it comes to cars. So I'm impressed.
So am I. Very impressed with it. Once again, it's the Cadillac CTS-V, 640 horsepower in a gorgeous package, and I love it. Personally, I'll take mine in blue.
Blue?
Yes, blue, I think. What about you? What color do you want yours in?
Black Raven. I think Black Raven will do.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Black rims.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Alexa, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for stopping by Cadillac.
You're welcome. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.
All right, now we're at my favorite vehicle of the show, the Dodge Charger Hellcat. This thing is just obnoxious. 707 horsepower, 600 pounds of torque, 204 miles per hour top speed, quarter mile in less than 12 seconds. As a matter of fact, with drag radials, you can get it in the 10s. There is no reason for this car to be made, but they sold out the entire run of production for the 2015 model year of this vehicle and the Challenger Hellcat. It is just an amazing, beautiful vehicle. The crazy thing about this is that of all sedans made, this is the most powerful, the fastest, and the quickest production vehicle. There is no other vehicle that is under $200,000 that even comes close to this. It is great. The MSRP on it starts in the 50s, goes up to the low 60s, fully loaded. This vehicle is a paradigm shifter, but it may be the last of its generation. With the CAFE standards going where they're going, I don't know how much longer Chrysler can afford to make vehicles with this kind of horsepower, but thank God they're making them now. Once again, the Dodge Challenger Hellcat, 707 horsepower, 650 pounds of torque.
One of the more interesting and fascinating parts of the show this year was the Historical Vehicle Association display. At that display, they had the beautiful, cool GM Futureliner bus, which went around the country as part of the Parade of Progress, showing off the wares of GM during the heyday, the late 40s and the early 50s. Now, in addition to that, they also had a couple of concept vehicles, one from Cadillac and one from Buick, that were designed as their answer to the Chevy Corvette, which is also introduced right during that era. So here's an interview with a guy who has the best job in the world.
So we're here with Casey Maxon. He's a historian at the Historical Vehicle Association. Casey, I love your job. It sounds like you must have the best job in the world, don't you?
Oh yeah, great.
So I understand that you guys only have 6 vehicles currently on the registry. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, we've documented 6 cars so far for the register, for the National Historic Vehicle Register. Each car we do a written historic narrative, a full photography set. So we do all different angles in very specific standards so that we ensure we don't have any distortion or anything like that. On every car we do a 3D laser scan that's then turned into a measure drawing. So
wow.
in 2014, or 2013, I should say, we did 5 cars. A Cobra Daytona Coupe. We started right here last year at the Washington Auto Show with the Cobra Daytona Coupe. Then we went to a Myers-Manx dune buggy, the first ever Myers-Manx ever built.
Okay.
From there we went to a Maserati, the Boyle Special, built in 1938, one of the most successful cars at the Indianapolis 500, to show that we're not just about American cars, it's about American culture and American history.
Okay, and
So-
certainly Indianapolis 500 is a
Exactly.
major part of American culture.
Exactly. From there we went to a 1918 Cadillac it's probably the only car remaining that served in World War I that we have a documented service history of. After we did the 1918 Cadillac, we went to the Tucker Tin Goose, the first ever tin Tucker built,
Awesome.
built in 1947.
Such a tragic story with Tucker.
An insane story, absolutely crazy story. And we use the artifacts, these specific automobiles, to tell about our culture.
Sure.
These are touch points to our past.
Absolutely.
And the automobile helps us understand greater cultural patterns and parts of our history that we wouldn't quite get without the artifact itself.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like during the 1950s, they had the jet age vehicles with the fins and
Exactly.
the rocket tail lamps, and so it was really a reflection of the optimism of the space program, the jet age at
Yep.
that point.
I mean, each of these cars, no matter what era they're from, they reflect on the culture in a large
Yeah.
way. This 1953 Cadillac Le Mans Dream Car is a great example of that.
It is gorgeous. I love this car.
This is an all fiberglass car.
Okay.
It's somewhere between a Corvette and the massive Cadillacs of the era.
Yeah.
It has the luxury and opulence of a Cadillac, but it's a fiberglass body. With
Wow.
a very sleek, sporty look and the wraparound front
So
windshield.
really, it's very similar to the Wildcat that we were looking at a
Yeah.
little bit earlier, in that it's basically similar to the Corvette. It came out right about the same time as the
right.
C1?
Yeah, about the same time as the Corvette. But it was each brand that they were just doing their own thing.
Yeah, sure.
They would go to these motoramas all over the country.
Yeah.
And they would show off, these styling exercises.
Absolutely.
To see, what each brand would be able to put forth and what, kind of gauge the public's reaction.
And back in those days, some of the biggest rivalries were between the brands within the GM
Yeah.
and Chrysler and Ford families
Absolutely.
with their siblings, not
Yeah.
against the competition, but
Yeah.
with their brothers and sisters.
Yep, certainly. I mean, it wasn't quite like it is today, where
No, yeah.
they all have the same basic platform. I mean,
Sure.
each brand had their own engine, their own chassis.
Their own designers, their own
Exactly.
marketing, their own everything. Really, they were all independent auto companies that
Yep.
just happened to be owned by General Motors,
Yeah.
Ford, or Chrysler.
Yep, certainly. And General Motors was one of the best at innovating and coming up with these just really these landmark designs
Yeah.
that we all look back on. And we've been here at the auto show for the past week or so now, and people walk by and they just say, what
Yeah.
happened? Why aren't they creating these
Well,
today?
I personally think that we are going through somewhat of a renaissance
Oh, yeah,
of
certainly.
the vehicles that are out nowadays. I
Yeah.
mean, the Hellcat, I don't know if you're
Oh, my
familiar with that
gosh,
one.
yeah.
That's just crazy.
It's outrageous.
We were salivating over the new BMW i8.
Oh yeah.
The CTS-V is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, the new CTS-V is just. I mean, and this to some degree is the CTS-V of its day.
Okay.
It's the
That
it's
makes
the
sense.
sports luxury
Sure.
car of its time.
The Velvet Fist.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Configuration.
And I understand this vehicle actually spent most of its life here in the Washington, D.C. area.
It's always been, well, for the most part. It was sold to a local Cadillac dealer. His daughter used it, had it down in Florida for a little bit. and
Lucky
then
girl.
Exactly. But it's basically always been here in the D.C. area.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time,
Absolutely.
Casey. It's been a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Certainly.
And keep up the great work, HVA.
Well, that's it, folks. Thanks so much for joining us in our coverage of the 2015 DC Auto Show. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did in checking out the cars, the sights, the sounds of that beautiful auto show. And I hope that I'll see you at next year's show in January of 2016.